Hello, everybody. This is Steve Yoder. Welcome to week 3 in Legal Studies 457 557, Business Law for Accountants, here in the spring of 2023 at the UAB Collat School of Business. As you can see, this week we are covering the law of contracts, and there is a great deal of content here. Let's get started. First, though, here is the extra credit opportunity for last week, which is closed. The correct answer was that several states saw it standing to challenge President Biden's student loan forgiveness program, as well as two individual student loan borrowers. Interestingly, those two individual student loan borrowers would not be affected, would not have their loans forgiven. Here is Module 1's learning activities, both chapters from the textbook as well as several sets of PowerPoint slides that are designed to distill down things in the textbook. The law of contracts is the law of promises and is very important in the business world. If promises were not enforced, then the business world would descend into chaos. We are looking at the common law of contracts, which is judge-made law for services and for real estate. We will later be looking at the statutory law for the sale of goods. Here's a checklist that you might use. There first has to be an agreement, which means an offer and an acceptance. There are several exam questions in the PowerPoint slides with answers so that you can get some practice taking, and here's one on this particular topic. The electronic world has embraced the law of contracts, and here's a case example that we'll be going over where Samsung was turned down in an effort to have an arbitration clause in its electronic contracts. Here's a case not in your book where an email was found to be a contract. Another item on your checklist would be legal consideration. That means more than just money. We'll be looking at that. Another example of an exam question here. Hint, A is wrong because courts never will step in and question the adequacy of consideration. Another item on your checklist would be that you have to have legal capacity. If you're strung out on drugs, you probably do not. You have to be over 18 or over to be considered to have capacity, although minors, those who are under the age of 18, can enter into contracts, but as we'll see, they can disaffirm them in certain cases. Sometimes courts and legislatures simply say, we don't care if all the other elements have been met for a contract, we just don't think you should be able to enter into certain types of contracts to do certain things, and they are particularly interested in non-compete agreements, and President Biden's Federal Trade Commission has weighed in on this. And here's your next extra credit opportunity. By Sunday night, April 2nd at 2023, tell me what the purpose of the law is that the Federal Trade Commission used to strike down or to prohibit many types of non-compete agreements. The reaction to that rule proposal, by the way, has been very strong, both pro and con. Sometimes there are defenses, and if you want your contract to be enforced, you better make sure that the other side doesn't have one of these defenses. In particular, we'll be looking at the defense that, there was a mistake of fact, the defense of duress, that you were under duress when you entered into a contract and should be able to get out of it as a result, rarely works. The defense that the contract had to be in writing might work, and certain contracts do have to be in writing. We'll be looking at that. If you want to see an example of someone who has gotten himself into a great deal of contract law mess, Google the NFL player Antonio Brown. The goal of any contract is to have it discharged. Usually that occurs by performance, but it can occur in other ways. Stop, pause, look at this graphic. It's very important. If you are the one who was hurt by the other side's breach of a contract, you might be able to get relief. Usually that's going to be in the form of monetary damages. You can see this list here. Not everybody who can benefit from a contract necessarily has to have signed it. The concept of third-party beneficiaries is one that we'll be looking at, and there's a short video in the in Canvas of that topic. First exam opens on Thursday night, March 30th at 5 and closes the following Sunday, April 2nd at 11:59 p.m. You'll have 90 minutes for this exam. This is the only one you'll have 90 minutes. The next two you'll only have 75 minutes to better replicate the experience that you'll have when you are taking the CPA exam. Finally, here is our calendar. I'm releasing this video on Monday, March 27, and you can see that the first exam opens on Thursday, as I said, but the day before, all of you who have CPA client consultation simulations must have gotten them completely done, both sides of the consultation by 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday. And then we have a number of things, including the first exam, that close at 11:59 p.m. on Sunday night.